Chapter 3: Assessing the internal environment of the firm. In this chapter, we will place heavy emphasis on the value chain concept. We will focus on the key value creating activities such as operating, marketing, and sales, as well as procurement that actually firm must effectively manage and integrate in order to attain the competitive advantage in the marketplace. However, firms not only focus on own value creating activities but also must maintain close and effective relationship with key organizations outside the firm boundaries such as a supplier, customers, and the alliance partner. After you learn this chapter, you should have a good understanding of the primary and support activities of a firm value chain, how value chain analysis help managers to create value, and what is the resource-based view of the firm and the different types of tangible and intangible resources, the 4 criteria of sustainable advantage, the usefulness of the financial ratios, and the value of the balance scorecard. Why do we need the internal environment analysis? Internal environment analysis is one of the most important activities that businesses must undertake in order to sustain, develop, and exist for a long time in a sustainable perspective. The analysis is important because it can show us the existing trend as well as demonstrate the strength of the business or the characteristic of the business which can have a potential strength. Value chain analysis. What is actually value chain? Value chain is a step-by-step business model for transforming a product or service from idea to reality. So value chain actually helps increase business efficiency so the business can deliver the most value for the least possible cost. The end goal of a value chain is to create competitive advantage for a company by increasing productivity while keeping costs reasonable. And the value chain theory analyzes a firm's 5 primary activities and 4 support activities. Because of ever increasing competition, about the prices, exceptional product, customer loyalty, companies must continually examine the value they create in order to retain their competitive advantage. So a value chain can help company to discern areas of its business that are inefficient, then implement strategy that will optimize its procedures for maximum efficiency and profitability. So in addition to ensure that production mechanics are seamless and efficient, it is critical that business keep customers feeling confident and secure enough to remain loyal. So with a value chain analysis, we'll have this. The value chain analysis actually created by Waters. In his concept of a value chain, Porter split the business activities into 2 categories, primary and support. Five generic categories of primary activities are involved in competing in any industry, as shown in exhibit 3.2 later. So each category is divisible into a number of distinct activities that depends on the particular industry and the firm's strategy. So primary activities actually contribute to the physical creation of the product or service, the sales and transfer to the buyer, and service after sale. The primary activities consist of inbound logistic, operation, outbound logistic, marketing and sales, and service. Support activities. The role of support activities is to help make the primary activities more efficient. So when you increase the efficiency of any of the 4 support activities, it benefits at least one of the 5 primary activities. And these support activities are generally denoted as overhead costs on a company's income statement. So the support activities either add value by themselves or add value through important relationship with both primary activities and other support activities. The support activities in the value chain can be divided into four generic categories. It shows in Exhibit 3.3, page 75 from your text. So each category of the support activity is divisible into a number of distinct value activities. They are specific to a particular industry. So support activity divided into procurement, technology development, human resource management, and the general administration. The value chain. You may refer to page 72 for Exhibit 3.1. You have to remember that value chain analysis is a strategic analysis of an organization that uses value weighting activities. Value is the amount that buyers are willing to pay for what a firm provides them and is measured by total revenue. And a reflection of the price a firm's product command and the quantity it can sell. So a firm is profitable when the value it receives exceeds the total cost involved in creating its product or service. So creating value for buyers that exceed the cost of production is a key concept used in analyzing a firm's competitive position. So now let us look in detail about the inbound logistics. So this is primarily associated with receiving, storing, and distributing inputs to the product. It includes material handling, warehousing, inventory control, vehicle scheduling, and return to suppliers. And other factors that you need to consider are location of distribution facilities and warehouse layout. For example, just-in-time inventory system were designed to achieve efficient inbound logistics. So if we take a look at Toyota inventory system, so they are using just in time. So which part deliveries arrive at the assembly plants only an hour before they are needed. So if we look at this fresh direct, okay, the inbound logistic, instead of going through an intermediary, the fresh direct bought all the materials directly from growers or producers itself. So this will help fresh direct to reduce their price, the selling price, and also fresh direct can get the high quality product. Second primary activity is operations. Operations include all activities that are associated with transforming input into final product. So for example, machining, packaging and assembly, testing or quality control, printing and facility operations. So creating environmentally friendly manufacturing is one way to use operation to achieve competitive advantage. Let's say we look at Fresh Direct. As you know, Fresh Direct has no physical grocery store, so it combines the retail and wholesale function into one unit. And orders placed online are typically scheduled for next day delivery using Fresh Direct fleet of delivery truck. So in regards to perishable goods, Fresh Direct has created a strong tie with local producer to ensure an adequate supply of goods as well as a minimum quality standard. Fresh Direct also promotes the product of the local producer on its website as a way to help drive revenue for these producers and maintain the symbiotic nature of the relationship. As an online grocer, Fresh Direct does not incur same amount of overhead as national and regional grocer chain. So this low cost structure help company offer affordable product to its customer. Another primary activity is outbound logistic. Outbound logistic is associated with collecting, storing and distributing the product or service to buyer. These activities include finished goods and warehousing, material handling, delivery vehicle operation, order processing, scheduling and distribution. Other factors that you need to consider is effective shipping processes and minimizing shipping costs by grouping goods into large lot of sizes. And if you take a look at fresh direct case, the location of the production facility near to Manhattan reduce the delivery time. So the scheduling of delivery times to avoid peak traffic times further reduce delivery costs. So minimum delivery charges change based on fuel costs and can be a barrier to growth. This is actually the outbound logistic strategy that used by the fresh direct. Marketing and sales activities are associated with purchases of product and services by end users and the inducement used to get them to make purchases. They include advertising, promotion, sales force, quoting, channel selection, channel relation, and pricing. Other factors that you need to consider is a innovative approach to promotion and advertising and proper identification of customer segment and needs. If you take a look at the Fresh Direct case, Fresh Direct actually made a decision to use imaginative advertising, which is word of mouth and innovative offers to first-time customers. So the website design and customer interface will be crucial in converting browsers into customers. Customers cannot put their hands on the product to touch. They cannot sniff and they cannot wait. So actually this is all the major barrier. So the possibility for impulse buy is greatly reduced online. The service primary activity includes all action which associated with providing service to enhance or maintain the value of the product, such as installation, repair, training, part supply, and product adjustment. And another factors that you need to consider when you discuss about service, the quick response to customer needs and quality of service, personnel, and ongoing training. So in relation to Fresh Direct case, we can see that information on food, nutrition, preparation, price comparison was much more available online. So provided an added service to the customer and facilitating comparison shopping. Since the product that delivered to the customers, there was no direct feedback except through the driver. So mechanism for soliciting the feedback were not obvious. So the online environment allow for such feedback, but whether this fresh direct response or not, we are not very sure. Okay, and maybe we are not looking at the product return and refund as well. So now let us look at the first support activity. It is procurement. Procurement refer to the function of purchasing input used in the firm's value chain, not to the purchase input themselves. So purchase input include raw materials, supplies, and other consumable items, as well as assets such as machinery, laboratory equipment, office equipment, and building. In relation to Fresh Direct, the company practiced the win-win relationship with suppliers, and this reduced dependency on single supplier also. So the industry is a wide high product cost affected product pricing and profit margin. Technology development is related to a wide range of activities. The array of technology employed in most firms is very broad, ranging from technologies used to prepare documents and transport goods to those embodied in process and equipment or the product itself. So technology development related to the product and its features support the entire value chain. So while other technology development is associated with particular primary or support activities. So if we take a look at the fresh direct case, the decision to use the state-of-the-art technology means the latest, the current technology to design the production and distribution network mean it may be possible to maintain better quality control than competitors. Human resource management consists of activities involved in recruiting, hiring, training, development, and composition of all types of personnel. So it supports both individual primary and support activities. For example, hiring of engineers and scientists, and the entire value chain where it is the negotiation with labor union. If we refer to fresh direct case, under the human resource management, the decision to hire product expert and use company drivers for distribution allow managers to keep control of employee performance. General administration consists of a number of activities including general management, planning, finance, accounting, legal and government affairs, quality management and information system. Administration, unlike the other support activities, typically support the entire value chain and non-individual activities. Although this general administration is sometimes viewed only as overhead, it can be a powerful source of competitive advantage. If we take an example from the industries, so top management plays actually a vital role in dealing with important buyers. Strong and effective leadership of top executive can also make a significant contribution to an organization success. If you take a look at Fresh Direct, the founders, Joe Fidel and Jason Ackerman had direct experience in this market. So the current management appeared passionate about the business and willing to learn from mistakes. Interrelationship among value chain activities. As a manager, you must not ignore the importance of relationship among value chain activities. Okay, so in relation to the case, if we look at the primary activities, in terms of primary activities, the key to Fresh Direct's ability to differentiate itself in the market resided in its operation and marketing. And the operation was designed from the beginning to facilitate freshness and maintain quality standard. So the use of creative web design and the availability of current information for the customers on food nutrition, preparation and price comparison added value to the customer experience. And in regards to support activities, a competitive advantage is achieved by developing a strong general administration that is built around visionary leadership and a culture that pushes for technology innovation. So although Fresh Direct had this in the beginning, there had been some mistake, and these the leaders is stable enough to learn from those mistakes. We may take a look at Exhibit 3.4, the example of value change in service organization. Come from page 80 of your textbook. Resource-based view of the firm. The resource-based view or RBV of the firm combines two perspectives. One, the internal analysis of phenomena within a company, and two, an external analysis of the industry and its competitive environment. It is actually beyond the traditional SWOT analysis by integrating internal and external perspective. So the ability of a firm resources to confer competitive advantages cannot be determined without taking into consideration the broader competitive context. Firm resources must be evaluated in terms of how valuable, rare, and hard they are for competitors to duplicate, or otherwise the firm attains only competitive parity. Firms' strength and capability, no matter how unique or impressive, do not necessarily lead to competitive advantages in the marketplace. So the criteria for whether advantages are created and whether or not they can be sustained over time will be addressed in a later part of the topic. So RBV is a very useful framework for gaining insight as to why some competitors are more profitable than others. Resource-based view is also helpful in developing strategies for individuals, businesses, and diversified firms by revealing how core competencies embedded in a firm, which can help it exploit new product and market opportunities. Types of firm resources. Firm resources are all assets, capabilities, organizational processes, information, knowledge, and so forth. So controlled by a firm that enable to develop and implement value creating strategies. So if you look at the tangible resources, it is an assets that are relatively easy to identify. They include the physical and financial asset that an organization use to create value for its customer. So, for example, the financial resources includes cash, account receivable, and ability to borrow funds. Where the physical resources is the company plant, equipment, and machinery, as well as its proximity to customers and suppliers. And the technology resources is trade secret, patent, and copyright. And finally, the organizational resources, the examples, the company strategic planning process and its employee development and evaluation and reward system. In terms of intangible resources, it is actually much more difficult for competitors to account for or imitate. They are embedded in unique routines and practices. So if you look at the human resource, for example, the trust, experience, and capabilities of employee, managerial skills and effectiveness of work team, firm-specific practices and procedures. Under the innovation resources, the technical and scientific expertise and ideas, and the innovation capabilities. And in terms of reputation resources, the brand names, image, okay, reputation for fairness with suppliers, non-zero sum relationship, reputation for reliability and product quality with customers. All these are the intangible resources which is difficult for competitors to imitate. Another type of firm's resources is organizational capabilities. Organizational capabilities are not specific tangible or intangible asset, but rather the competencies or skill that a firm employ to transform inputs into output. So they refer to an organization's capability to deploy tangible and intangible resources over time and generally in combination, and to leverage those capabilities to bring about the desired end. For example, organizational capabilities are outstanding customer service, excellent product development capabilities, superb innovation processes, and flexibility in manufacturing processes. So now let us look at the firm resources and sustainable competitive advantages. So what is a sustainable competitive advantage? Sustainable competitive advantage occur when an organization acquire or development attributes or combination of attributes that allow it to outperform its competitors. So this attribute can include access to natural resources or access to highly trained and skilled personnel, human resources. So it is an advantage over the competition and must have some life. So the competition must not be able to do it right away. So or it is not sustainable. It is an advantage that it's not easily copied and thus can be maintained over a long period of time. Competitive advantage is a key determinant of superior performance and ensures survival and prominent placing in the market. So superior performance is the ultimate desired goals of a firm. It gives firms the ability to stay ahead of present or potential competition and ensure market leadership. So we look at the resource-based view of the firm. So the 4 criteria that determine a firm competitive capabilities in the marketplace, which are one is are they valuable? Okay, in formulating and implementing strategies to improve efficiency or effectiveness. We have to look whether do they enable firms to devise strategies that improve efficiency or effectiveness. And then the second question is, are they rare, okay, or uncommon or difficult to exploit? If many other firms possess it, then it is not rare. And number 3, are they imperfectly imitable? So because of unique historical condition, causally ambiguous and socially complex. So difficult to imitate or copy due to physical uniqueness, past dependency, cultural ambiguity or social complexity. This will be explained in the next slide. Okay, and finally, is it difficult to substitute with strategically equivalent resources or capabilities? So if a ready substitute can be found, then this condition is not met. So when all of these criteria are met, then a firm can be said to have a sustainable competitive advantage. So in other words, a firm will have an advantage in the marketplace which will last until the criteria are no longer met completely. So as a result, the firm will be able to earn higher profit than other firms with which it compete. Sources of inimitability. The first sources of inimitability is physical uniqueness, which by definition is inherently difficult to copy. So if we discuss about part dependency, it is a greater number of resources cannot be imitated because of what economists refer to as part dependency. And this simply means that resources are unique and therefore scarce because of all that has happened along the portfolio in their development. Competitors cannot go out and buy these resources quickly and easily, and they must be built up over time in ways that are difficult to accelerate. Where the causal ambiguity means that would be competitors may be thwarted because it is impossible to disentangle the causes of possible explanation of either what the valuable resource is or how it can be recreated. And the social complexity is actually a firm resources that may be imperfectly inimitable because they reflect a high level of social complexity. So these phenomena are typically beyond the ability of firm to systematically manage or influence. And when competitive advantage are based on social complexity, it is difficult for other firms to imitate them. So now let us discuss the criteria for sustainable competitive advantage. You may refer to Exhibit 3.6 from page 84. The first criteria is the resource valuable? Okay, so organizational resources can be a source of competitive advantage only when they are valuable. So resources are valuable when they enable a firm to formulate and implement strategies that improve its efficiency or effectiveness. So the SWOT framework suggests that firms improve their performance only when they exploit opportunities or they can neutralize the threat. And the fact that the firm's attribute must be valuable in order to be considered resources, including the potential sources of competitive advantage, reveals an important complementary relationship among environmental models. You have to consider the whether the resource is rare or not. If competitors or potential competitor also possess the same valuable resource, it is not a source of a competitor advantage because all of these firms have the capability to exploit that resource in the same way. So the common strategies based on such a resource will give no one firm an advantage. So for a resource to provide competitive advantages, it must be uncommon, and that is rare relative to other competitors. You also must consider whether the resource can be imitated easily. So imitability, which is difficult to imitate, is a key to value creation because it constrains competition. If a resource is inimitable, then any profit generated are more likely to be sustainable. So having a resource that competitors can easily copy generates only temporary value. So this has important implication since managers often fail to apply this. They tend to base long-term strategies on resources that are immutable. And you also have to consider whether the product is substitutes can be substitutable, uh, which is actually this is the fourth requirement for a firm resource to be a source of sustainable competitive advantage. And there must be no strategically equivalent valuable resources that are themselves not rare or inimitable. So two valuable firms resources or bundle of resources are strategically equivalent when each one can be exploited separately to implement the same strategies. So if we look here, exhibit 3.7, okay, if the product or service not valuable, not rare, and it's not difficult to imitate, and it is substitutable. So therefore, we can see that the product is having competitive disadvantage. But if the product valuable but not rare, not difficult, and that is substitutable to the product, mean the product is only achieve the competitive parity. And if the product is valuable and also rare, but it is not difficult to be imitated, and it can be substitutes. Therefore, we see that the product having temporary competitive advantage. However, if the product comply with all four criteria of sustainable competitive advantage, which is valuable, rare, and it is difficult to imitate and difficult to be substitute. Okay, therefore we see that the product is having a sustainable competitive advantage. The generation and distribution of a firm profit. A resource-based view of the firm is useful in determining when firms will create competitive advantage and enjoy high level of profitability. However, it has not been developed to address how a firm profit will be distributed to a firm's management and employees or other stakeholders, such as customers, suppliers, or government. This is actually an important issue because firms may be successful in creating competitive advantages that can be sustainable for a period of time. But much of the profit can be retained by a firm, employees and managers or other stakeholders instead of giving back to the owners. So there are few factors that help to explain the extent to which employer and managers will be able to obtain a high level of profit that they generate. So we look at the first one, employee bargaining power. So if employees are vital to forming a firm's unique capability, they will earn this proportionately high wages. For example, if marketing professional may have access to valuable information that help them to understand the intricacies or to try to understand the difficulties or complexity of customers' demand and expectation, or engineers may understand unique technical aspect of the product or services. And if you look at the employee replacement cost, if employee skills are idiosyncratic, idiosyncratic means have a great talents, and rare. So they should have high bargaining power based on the high cost required by the firm to replace them. And the employee exit cost is the factors may tend to reduce an employee's bargaining power, where an individual may face high personal costs when leaving the organization. So thus that individual trait of leaving may not credible. So in addition, an employee's expertise may be firm specific and of limited value to other firms. And finally, we look at manager bargaining power. Uh, Manager powers is based on how well they create the resource-based advantages. So they are generally charged with creating value through the process of organizing, coordinating, leveraging employees as well as other forms of capital such as plant and equipment as well as the financial capital. Evaluating firm performance. So this section addresses two approaches to use when evaluating a firm's performance. The first perspective that we are going to look is the balanced scorecard analysis, where this look at the broader stakeholders view. The firm must satisfy a broad range of stakeholders, including employees, customers, owners, to ensure their long-term viability. And another perspective is uh, financial ratios analysis. And this is actually identify how a firm is performing according to its balance sheet, income statement, market valuation, and it is based on the historical comparison, and the comparison will be based on the industry or with other competitors. So the balance sheet is formally now is known as the what we call statement of financial position, as well as the statement of profit or loss. The financial ratios analysis, we have five types of financial ratios that should be covered in this syllabus, which is short-term solvency or liquidity, long-term solvency measures, asset management or turnover, profitability, market value. And these ratios include analysis of how ratio can change over time and comparison with industry norm and comparison with key competitors. The balanced scorecard, a meaningful integration of many issues that come into evaluating the performance. So we look at the four perspective. How do customers see us? That is considered a customer perspective. And what must we excel at? That is our internal perspective. And can we continue to improve and create value? We look at the innovation and learning perspective. And how do we look to shareholders? That is under the financial perspective. Customer perspective versus the internal business perspective. You look the customer perspective actually how company is performing from its customers perspective is a top priority for the management. So the balance scorecard require managers to translate their general mission statement on customer service into specific measures that reflect the factors that really matter to customers. So the In order for balanced scorecard to work, the managers must form a joint goal for 4 key categories of customer concern, time, quality, performance, service, and cost. And the internal business perspective, it is a customers based measures. However, they must be translated into indicators of what the firm must do internally to meet the customers' expectation. So then they focus on those critical internal operation that enable them to satisfy the customer's need. For example, they have to look at the cycle time, quality, the skills of the employee, and the productivity of the organization. And then the decision made by the managers, the coordinated actions, the key resources that they have, and the capability of the employees or managers or the whole people in the organizations. In terms of innovation and learning perspective, managers must make frequent changes to existing product and services, as well as introduce entirely new product with extended capabilities. So in order for the company to sustain and remain with the rare product, for example, and should have the valuable product and inimitable product, inimitable product. So the companies or the managers must work together with the employees actually to come out with innovation strategy. Okay, so this require the human capital itself. So because they need the skills, the talent, and the knowledge in order to come up with something strategic, and the information capital, the information system, and the networking. Of course, we need a organization capital, which is culture and the leadership. When it comes to financial perspective, as a manager, you must measure how the firm's strategy, implementation, and execution are indeed contributing to bottom line improvement. So you need to look at the profitability of the company, the growth, shareholder value, and this will actually lead you to improve your company sales and try to increase the market share and reduce the operating expenses as well as the higher asset turnover. We look a little bit on the limitation of the balance scorecard. Okay, it is not a quick fix, needs a proper education, needs a commitment to learning, needs employee involvement in continuous process improvement, needs cultural change, need a focus on non-financial rather than financial measures, and need data on actual performance.